I was
Oh,
thinking that um, one of the things that I discovered in that piece I did last week was how many archives are in me, and that some of the archives are only, they're just a moment of a certain sense. They're a smell, and that's it. They're in there. And I wanted to put that out there as something that people might want to explore, might want to write about. Because I think that I was certainly thinking of archives as almost a story, but not necessarily, or even a vignette, but not necessarily just a smell, or something that I feel that can just be a moment. So I know we've been thinking of strands and stories, but I think that was something that I've been thinking a lot about and noticing in my own writing, that these moments are coming out.
and I know early on we had worked with lists, very simple lists, which I think can be instructive as well. Yeah, that was helpful.
And then the other thing I wanted to say, and if anybody feels like staying after to write, I'll stay on. So I'm just putting that out there. But a couple of people are, including Malachy, are interested in creating a portfolio. So if you're interested in that, your pieces that you've done, think about that. Let it be a portfolio. That portfolios are nice. It's nice to have kind of a file of stuff. And in the portfolio, it can just be a response or a thought. I loved our session last week. It felt like the title, felt like there were a couple of titles. One of the titles was Youssef Responds. But I feel like everything Youssef said, separated together, would be in a portfolio, or could be. So those are beginning thoughts today.
Yeah, those are good thoughts. We are in a variety of places, a variety of environments, a variety of states, a variety of states of mind. And to be able to pull ourselves together once a week is a great blessing, considering the variety of environments that we're in at present moment. So let's, bring to the table where we are, how we're feeling, what we're feeling. But as always, let's listen to each other and let that inform us as well. So that said, let's kick off some work and see where it takes us. Let's do the baton thing, go each to each to each, and then have some conversation afterwards. Let's try a few.
So I'll, oh, go ahead. Someone going?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to go, but if you're going to go.
Go ahead.
All right. So this,
No, without
me or you, Jamar?
my bad. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
You can go first. You can go first.
All right. I just put pen to paper last night. I don't really want this to be a piece, but I just wanted to have this space to share a strand of my history that was really meaningful to me that I lost this week. So Alice Elizabeth Helleran, born in the Homewood section of Pittsburgh, February 22nd, 1955. Alice was born to Clarence Helleran, Red, and Alice Jean Helleran, Jeannie. Proud to be first generation pig shit Irish working poor. Youngest of 5. At 2 years old, Alice's mother suffered a stroke. Unable to care for herself or her children, she moved out and self-medicated with alcohol and prescription drugs. Red, the functional alcoholic World War II veteran, cannot manage a baby, work, and 2 sets of Irish twins by himself. So Alice bounces between foster care and relatives for the next 10 years, never knowing a home. 13, she moves in with her sister Shirley, that's my mother, and her new husband Bill. She enrolls in stable schooling and learns her timetables. 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. This is the first time feeling stable and proud. 14 years old, her sister Patty asks her to move in to help her with her little ones. Patty introduces Alice to alcohol, weed, and lets her have boys spend the night. Alice moves on to Quaaludes by 17. By 18, they talk her into marrying Eddie because Eddie has a stable job, but Eddie also loves alcohol and is heavy-handed. By 19, her first child, Michelle, is born, and Alice is feeling bored, trapped, and beaten. They move to Edgewood, and she joins a ladies-only bowling league where she meets Kenny, the Jehovah's Witness who can take 77 people to heaven with him as a chosen one. He told her he will choose her if she chooses to leave Eddie. Kenny, the charismatic preacher, gives her heroin for the first time. She moves in with him in Swissville, and before she knows it, she's pregnant with Anna. Michelle comes to visit from time to time, and when Michelle is 2, she toddles into a dirty needle. Michelle lands in Children's Hospital months later, violently ill with Hep C. Alice loses any custody to Eddie. Kenny is violent and likes to beat Alice so badly. He beats her into unconsciousness and slices her body with razor blades. He takes her blood and mixes it with toothpaste and smears it on the walls throughout the apartment, helter-skelter. Everyone in the family knows and sees it, but nobody calls the police. Anna likes to piss and shit herself. She's too old for diapers. Kenny beats the shit out of both of them. Kenny slits Alice's wrists when she is drunk and calls the cops and says she's suicidal. Western Psych. Back to Kenny again. Beatings and drugs, beatings and drugs. Now jail cells enter the mix. Forced detoxes. Kenny beats her unconscious again. Beatings and drugs, jail, detox. Alice's only way to get away is to run. She runs to New York City with a man named John. She needs to get off of the heroin. 1 year she lasts, then back to Kenny. Beatings and drugs, beatings and drugs. Alice and Kenny leave Anna alone at a bar to go use, and the police take her. Alice just can't take much more of this life. She leaves again. She hitchhikes to Florida because she wants to see the ocean for the first time in her life. Maybe that will heal her. Sarasota homeless encampment is where she ends. Greyhounds intermittently back to Pittsburgh to see Anna. Beatings from Kenny when she visits, and now crack. Back to Sarasota again to escape. Finally, the ocean breeze starts to heal her and she gets an apartment with her boyfriend, Chuck. They take in a bunch of cats. She's proud of herself. She starts to call her family back home and wants back in with them all. Chuck beats her too, but that's the only way that Alice knows how to love. She threatens to go back to Pittsburgh. The family all miss her. Chuck sets her apartment on fire and she loses everything. Poor people can't afford insurance. All of her cats are killed in the blaze. Back to the encampment she goes, filled with family shame. 2006, Anna finally finds her in the woods near Lido Beach. Anna's married and pregnant and really needs her mom. Alice agrees to come home, back to Pittsburgh, 2007, but won't see the family because the teeth and scars from years of abuse and drugs. 2008, she finally gets some insurance and gets her teeth fixed and will start to see her family again. Michelle comes back around to stay with her mom. You see, Michelle was raped at 15 by her stepfather, Kenny. Remember him, the violent Jehovah? Michelle chose to cope with trauma the only way that Alice had taught her, and that was vodka, crack, heroin, benzos, and violent men. Together they do bad, then they do good, then they do bad again. By now, Alice has 4 grandbabies, but Michelle's are only allowed to see sometimes. 2016, Michelle was waiting to get a bed at a woman's only rehab. Men had raped her, slit her throat, victimized her so bad that she could never heal near a man. She got her income tax check and shot for the last time and died alone in a bed, waiting for a bed. Alice unravels. 2017, Alice meets Ziggy. Ziggy loves her for her scripts, but he doesn't beat her. That's a first for Alice. Old friends, same drugs, Calvary Baptist Church. I just want to get clean before I die. COPD, emphysema, Hep C, Discovery House Methadone Clinic, 2019. What does life feel like without substances in it? She has to know. It's her dying wish, one that will never be fulfilled. Ronnie's a miserable old man. Somehow they always find her, or maybe she finds them. He pays her $20 to clean his house. He knows she has a weakness for benzos. He leaves a few every time she is over on his counter, knowing she won't resist to take them. Everybody wins, right? A whole house clean for cheap, and she gets her favorite escape from her reality. The benzos make her urine dirty. The clinic punishes her. It's inhumane. No more take-homes or early appointments when you are dirty. Get in line, wear your shame for all on Washington Boulevard to gawk at you like the subhuman junkie that you are. She fucking hated every moment of it. She fucking hated herself. April 22nd, 2021. It's Michelle's birthday, and she can't bear much of the pain anymore. She just wants to be clean before she dies, make everyone proud of her for once. But she has to clean his house. April 26th. He did it again. He left a whole handful on the counter for her to take. She hasn't slept since Michelle's birthday. Maybe a bundle will serve her well. She's going to get clean soon, but for now, she needs the Holy Trinity to help her sleep. 1:30, back from the clinic, cleaning and scoring. She washes it all down with sweet peach vodka. The tingle starts on the insides and spreads to the outermost layer of her skin. A warmth of what she would imagine a mother's love to feel like envelopes around her, and the euphoria spreads throughout, and the noises are finally quiet. Everything fades. It's only now that she can rest in peace. Everyone will say the drugs killed her, but the truth is that life killed her a long time ago. She loved butterflies, sunflowers, Janis Joplin, the river, kids, especially the ones that no one else favored. She always sent a card on birthdays and holidays and the birth of a new child with a handwritten message inside. She was superstitious, curious. She had a kind heart, and she made everyone smile around her. There'll be no formal obituary, no funeral, no viewing, no friends and family will gather to share stories with her. So I just wanted to use this space to honor my aunt. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Let's talk a little bit about that a little later, and let's go on to the next, please. Thank you so much, Glenn.
And thinking about last week, I couldn't help but I couldn't shake how Susan had started off talking about the death, and then also with the other guy talking about how he saw the woman over there that was being sold, thinking about human rights and things of that nature. And so what comes to mind is stillborn, because what happens is a mother carries a child and that child dies. And I know I'm not a mother, but I've just seen the pain so many times of that mother's child being gone, more often through violence, sometimes through the streets, sometimes to life incarceration. But when I look at it, it's so much of a parallel. It's like they had a stillborn child. They only had, whether it's a few months of joy with that child, rubbing it in their stomach, observing the kicks, feeding it, caring for it, enjoying that time with that child. Or whether they actually saw them on the outside, physically raising them, caring for them. teaching them, and then they're taken. There's just words can't quite put it, the pain or the absence in the eyes and the will of a mother that loses a child on either or. Whether it never came into this world or whether it came into this world just for a brief period of time, a decade or two, or even a few. And to hear the cries of a mother who loses a child, it could never be duplicated. It's almost, it sends chills through you when you think about it, when you witness it. It sticks with you. And so it's like, I don't know, I just always thought about that stillborn, whether being alive or whether they never came, the child was never really fully given birth to in outside of the womb. That's something that stuck with me from last week.
Thanks, Jamal. Next, please.
Stillborn, still I rise, still smiling, still city, Pittsburgh Stillers. I heard Colleen's piece and I had to pray. And I pride myself on not praying because I'm better than that. Because I live my life as a prayer in action. Priest told me that once. Got me thinking about Megan and her Catholic school days. Tim riding his bike around the church with his buddy. Got me thinking about Roger can say all them Latin words. I don't understand those. Jacqueline and all her gods and goddesses. I'm still sitting here, still trying to smile. Praying is still something that's, I guess, there for me. That's it.
Thank you. Ecco spiritu tuo. Next, please. Thanks.
We used to have a thing that we were able to do at our think tank meetings. Here or there, sometime we would be able to call an institution, right? And they would be able to put together, you know, their think tank there, and they would be able to talk to us at our think tank. So Brother Khalife, that is part of our Socorro group, that helped start the think tank, had passed away in December in 2017. So what made this moment, so in other words, Susan at one time had asked us to write a little piece on our best moment or our most precious moment or something highlighting what we went through, experience we had with the think tank. So mine was the phone call. We went to Cannabis Hall to have our think tank meeting, and oh my goodness, we was able to hook up with Brother Khalife. And Brother Khalife is deep in all our hearts and minds. And being able to talk to him, I was waiting to say something in particular. I was fearing maybe he wouldn't recognize my voice, you know, because the phone be having stuff, or we've been away from each other for a while. So I really didn't think that, but I was sitting in my seat there in Cannabis Hall, waiting for my turn to say something to Khalife, something that would be profound. So when I got my moment, I said, what's up, brother, man? And the deep part about it was he knew who I was. He said my name, you know, so that kind of blew my mind, but it spoke to our connection. So my piece to him was, I wanted to say something because I know we didn't have no whole bunch of time, something that he could roll with, get strength from, and it would give strength to me. And I told him that if it wasn't for us taking control of time, instead of letting time take control of us, then that's the reason why we're here today. And sometimes that's hard to understand. How do you do that? You dig? How do you handle a situation even though you're not in complete charge of it? You dig? So talking to the brother was like a breath of fresh air. And I came up with a saying, it's an old Swahili saying, and it was tuta onana. So it means bye with happiness. So that was a piece that I kicked at his funeral. Talking to the brother was like being there with him for 1 trillion years. So it was something that I appreciated, and I thought that I would share it with you. And I hadn't seen the brother in years, but it gave me a feeling of fulfillment, a fulfilling moment, because we were in the penitentiary at the same time, dealing with the same thing. So the piece I'm gonna leave you with, the rap I'm gonna leave you with, when they was talking about Khalife, and he's, you know, one hell of a brother, hell of a leader, they said that he wasn't a Muslim anymore. And it kind of blew my mind for a minute, because I always seen him as, you know, the righteous, you know, Muslim brother trying to kick something and share something. And he had all different sides, but him making the change from being a Muslim to a Christian showed me a circle of his growth and development. You know what I mean? So I'm speaking to the brother, and hopefully he can hear me. And we all send our love, and we're going to make it a Khalife day in a minute. So that's my piece.
Part two, real quick. Yo, pick up the phone, Norm. Pick up the phone. Yo, Norm,
Yeah.
pick up the phone. It's
Yeah.
6:05, and that's my alarm sometimes. My kids run around the house saying, yo, pick up the phone, Norm. I pick it up. Hello, yo, Lou, what's up? Yo, Norm. I need to drape something on you. I'm not gonna hold you but a minute, right? We were in Cannabis Hall, which is what we'll call it forever now, Cannabis Hall.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
everyone knew Khalife was sick, but no one knew he died. Rick was there. Rick had a student from Africa there. Big Lou was fighting with Stephen, as Big Lou and Stephen are wont to do. And I said, y'all have to knock it off. Khalife died yesterday. We asked Rick's student if he could say something traditional in an African language, what they do, because Khalife loved that kind of stuff. He did a prayer that asked the ancestors to welcome Khalife among them. And then a year later, we'd have to do it again, asking the ancestors to allow the Khalife to return and guide us. The student was gone. Fortunately, we had a priest, a Spiritan, right? We had been in Africa. He put on this big goat coat that he was wearing and did the thing and poured Diet Slice or some kind of soda into a tree because Khalife didn't drink. And we asked Khalifa to come back, and Khalifa's been haunting me every day since. He never lets me go. He's calling bullshit when bullshit needs to be called. Thank you, Khalifa. Thank you, Colleen's aunts. Thank you all, and that's my end of my prayers for today.
What's up?
Thank you. Again, Norm. Okay, who's next?
I can remember a cemetery. I can remember the small family plot and the caretaker who kept the grounds. And the unique thing about this were the inscriptions on the tombstones. My heart lies here, 1791. I'll see you in forever, 1822. And a statue of a girl chasing a dog. And it was there, it was built by a man, a rich man, for his daughter, who would have given up all of his money to buy her into spring. The calendar loses meaning, and so do the inscriptions, because the caretaker can't read. The caretaker of the cemetery is illiterate. He cannot read. A house surrounded by stories for a man that cannot read. And that always stuck with me. An obituary is an accounting of a life from someone else's point of view. And I think that the greatest obituary anyone can have is the life that their loved ones lead because of them. Not what's in a paper, not what's on a web page, but the family and the love around them. That's that.
Thanks, sir.
Cemetery. Cemetery is a place where watches no longer exist. Calendars no longer needed. Birthdays. There's no more presents to give. It's a space where people and all things stand still. Those that come to visit and those that rest in that dirt nap. It's the inevitable that we all have to pass through those doors at one time or another. It's in that clock that no one knows what hour, what minute, what second. And it's because of that clock, because of that time, that calendar, that we sit and not have that time arise with a list to do still undone. The wish I would have. would have spoken, would have completed, spoken to, forgave, that thing that we know that's been on our heart to do. Because just like a watch that's battery has spent all of its energy, all of our time will cease at one point or another. And that's why it's so paramount that we do all we can do while we have the time to do all we can. And sometimes maybe it's the conversations like this, or whether it's turbulence that brings it straight to mind of, have I done all I can do? And what still needs to be done? And to apply ourselves to that. And that's time.
I live off the page, but I can't perform without the written word. I still believe in the rainbow, though I ride the bus every time it storms. I look out the window and I watch the people scurry, trying to avoid getting drenched. And I follow each one home, trying to figure out, where's my life leading me? Looking for examples to emulate. I'm 16 years old, and I ride every stormy day. And I project into wet galoshes as the people go into where their lives leads them. I have traveled many stormy days into confusion and into bliss. I have found my own way following the path of nameless leaders, men and women, who have carried me during my moments of despair.
I can't,
This
sorry.
week, I just wanted to say that this week I read Lazarus for the first time. I didn't really know about Lazarus except that he rose again. And I've been kind of filled with Lazarus and thinking about, was he really dead? And was he dead in that tomb? And I'm feeling about your great aunt, Alice. And you're saying that life killed her a long time ago. But it feels to me like she kept rising. She just kept rising. Life kept killing her and she just kept rising. And now she's rising again. You've brought her back and she's in us. And Eric talked about what a true obituary is. And Alice is certainly in me. And my mother's name was Shirley. You never hear that name anymore. And she was working poor. And I'm so grateful to Lazarus and Jesus and Alice and Norm praying, because I don't even know what prayer is. Thank you, Alice. And thank you, Colleen, for giving us Alice.
Thank you, Susan. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go. Okay, so I can't pull it off the page yet because I decided to go through all of my notes and kind of circle or mark things that stood out for me, and also a workshop that I recently attended, a writing workshop. And I was going to go off of Brother Youssef in I Found My Way. So I think I'm going to start there. So this is my second visit to the Wiki Veil, right? To the Wiki Veil. I found my way, internalized cultural acceptance. Dr. Sacco, what are your preferred pronouns? My preferred pronouns are sis and aya. But if you're nasty, it's she, her, and hers. Gumbo ya. It's never quiet. It ain't supposed to be quiet. Sassy is respectable. You know, like we taught you to shimmy dance, you give them a little and you take it back. That's about more than dancing. That's it. Maya Angelou said that. Lucille Clifton also said that. Refrain, re-narrate, hold it in. Hold it in is not about quieting, silencing. It's about transformation like a seed. Your creativity is unshackled. Parallel to that is resilience, unbound, tie back, bound, and you learned how to slip out of the bind. Speaking multilingual is higher order intelligence. There's equal power in voice and quiet. Casting a spell, sounds, critiquing the tropes, binding, spell conjurer, magical, entranced. Sounds are mastery and imagery ownership, master ingesting, learning the whole of the who, and the what of the who. How many voices are in the writing? What are you grasping for? Sassy and fresh always. The people that she summons. Double Dutch is about some of us have to carry the water. Sapphire is about remaining in a space so that some folks will be uncomfortable so that they will not stifle their growth. Jezebel are the ways you must be dichotomous and contradictory. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacqueline. Anyone else? I think we have room for one more. One more to take us out. Going once, going twice.
Well,
Go
a
ahead. Lou.
little short piece.
Yes.
Thank you all for helping me to be able to express myself a little deeper. Thank you all for helping pave the way and helping show enough, because we know something about the show enough help. I haven't met a situation that I could compare with what I experienced when I was coming up. And I was speaking about love and how you can feel it, touch it, fit up in it, wear it on you. So I was kind of proud to actually be a part of my community and grow to be in or involved with the universal community, because we never separated ourselves. So I figure if I was talking about Grandma Jenkins and what all she used to do, she just had an extra touch beyond the regular. And I guess I'm fortunate that there was more than one Grandma Jenkins. So when I say something about Grandma Jenkins, and I say something about the women in my particular community, I feel good because it was a blessing that they were there. And when I talk about the sister was gentle and she was a warrior. And sometimes I don't think we recognize things or we give credence, or if we know how to express things, because I didn't know what was going on. And if it don't be for Grandma Jenkins and them other sisters in my community giving me some guidance, looking out for me, planting the seeds of unity that we were able to experience for a minute, I guess I would say, baby girl, we love you. We are going to be connecting with you, and we're going to let it be known that Grandma Jenkins and the Sisters of Homewood made a hell of a move for unity. And when we talk about the different places in Homewood, then those were the gathering places from, I guess, what we would say the river was the rhythm or the spirit in us. And that's never supposed to stop flowing. So I always think about that particular situation in the moment of time, because we always talk about the 60s and 70s. So I don't want Grandma Jenkins and the Sisters of Homewood to ever be forgotten. And they got a legacy that we got to hold up and make history know them so they can get their propers. And all I say is that thank you, Grandma Jenkins, because if it don't be for you, then I wouldn't be able to stand here today and give credits to you and the other sisters that held up my community at a time when the men couldn't necessarily be on their throwing up jobs. So thank you for everybody that struggled, because it was about the struggle in the movement. And that'll be for some future rap, but I just wanted to say that. And that's basically for Norm and Susan and Yusef and everybody else, but y'all really try to encourage me. And I still haven't gotten the 5 minutes or the 3 minutes down pat. And I guess I just don't want to miss anything pertaining to her, because she was so great to not only me, but a lot of us in our community. So that's the piece I took a little part of.
That's good, Lou, because we started with a sister from Homewood, Colleen's aunt, and we ended with another sister from Homewood. So back around to that sacred spot in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was about to say that, Allison Homewood. And I am Alice. And to Miss Jacqueline Lucille Clifton. And in the piece, I like voice and silence as opposed to voice and quiet. It has a certain resonance with it.
Thank you.
We have about 5 minutes, and I'm going to kick off the 5 minutes by simply saying thank you, particularly for listening today so deeply. I feel that today was about loss in many ways, but it was also about pursuit, a pursuit of peace, pursuit of justice, pursuit of recognition. And we are in so many different spaces, but I felt a certain unity this morning, which was remarkable. So I thank you all for that unifying grace. And my last bit will be, let's continue on next week in this same spirit and find something new, perhaps a new texture to pursue in the same way. Congratulations, and again, thank you so much. Couple more words from anyone, please, to take us out into the end of the hour.
I want to come back to what you said after Colleen's piece, which was quite a testament to a woman's life and to the power of love and struggle. And I guess I just want to open that up, since we kind of moved on and let the energy move into passing the baton, which was passed in a very different way today. But I do want to kind of come back to that very full and brave work that you did, fueled by love and this moment, and how to love her and let her go. But I definitely wanted, other people to be able to speak to that.
A different point that I want to say real quick. A house surrounded by stories for a man who can't read, right? Eric's piece. That's a cop. That caretaker is a cop, and he's not a bad cop, but he's a cop who doesn't get it. And Grandma Jenkins is also a cop, right? She's the cop that does get it. And that's there's a lot of back and forth about who's a real cop, who's a cop's cop, who's not a real cop, whatever. And to me, that's the story for me anyway.
That's interesting, Norm, because I also really felt that line, Eric. And I felt like he does read. Like he reads those inscriptions in a very deep way. Like it seemed to me that the question became, what does it mean to read? And who decides that? Like what, he's reading different letters. It made me think of the great artist who I'm just in love with, and now it seems like he's getting more recognition, but the Alabama artist Bill Traylor, who was born a slave and actually didn't start drawing and painting till he was in his 80s. And he was illiterate, but there are letters and words throughout his paintings. So what was his reading? You know, he seemed to read profoundly, but in a very different way than us.
I just have 1 minute, and I won't take more than 1 minute. I wanted to say about the themes that were running through, and speaking to both Norm and Roger and Susan. The idea of letting go is not an idea that we traditionally find in the Black community as an appendage of the enslaved Africans. They're always with us. And so when we think about the storytelling, and then Norm talked about, you know, that is a traditional practice that every year you honor, right? Because we're always connected to those ancestors. They never leave us. And for Colleen, it's this is one of the things I love about Pittsburgh. So it's a blessing to know your legacy and your ancestors, because I find that, especially some of my students here, that they tend to have given that up for whiteness. So they don't necessarily have the connection to their great aunts. Come on now. And then they don't have the connection to the practices of the pig shit Irish. There's so much embedded in that that's powerful, right? The resiliency that is connected to that type of trauma and the ways in which we had to name ourselves in this country, that I think there's so much juicy richness in that. And I would love to see you follow that thread, it feels like she's asking you to help her cross through.
Guru Ma'agat.
Ashe. Thank you for that benediction, Jacqueline.
Beautiful.
Absolutely appropriate. And Colleen, once again, we all thank you for kicking it off with such truth, pain, joy, madness, religion. And I think we are all wishing you the absolute best and the absolute light and strength in this difficult moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for allowing and for listening to her story. I really can't express to you how much that it was hard, but it was really meaningful. And then to hear, you know, you guys follow up with it, it's touching my heart in a way I really can't put in words, because for her to know that other people actually are thinking about her, and it would just be, you know, which she's seeing somewhere, but it's just really meaningful thing. So thank you all.
I hope it's the funeral that she needed, right? Since there wasn't one. And I know Tim thanks you for being a pain every day. So thank you for the pain.
Tim held it down so I could keep my mom Shirley's and was staying with me after it happened, you know, of course, suddenly. So Tim held it down at work so that I could take some time off and support my mom.
Enjoy the lake. Enjoy the lake.
Right.
Yeah. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week. Susan's going to hang in with more writing work, and look forward to next week. Have a lovely one, and great weekend, of course, as well. Peace. Take care.
So what all you was trying to do, Miss Susan?
I just said if anybody had anything they wanted to work on, you know, feel free.
Lou, you had the queen in tears, buddy. I wanted you to hear that before I left.
It's right on time though. It's because of her and folks like that that always help encourage me, you know what I'm saying? To try to do better. And then we know our original thought which a lot of people didn't know, Maggie and you knew, but that a lot of things that I was actually thinking of originally, I thought we were going to have Leon's group, his younger group, actually do the plays, and we kick up the rap and get with the brothers from inside and give it to them and let them see what they could come up with. So that's not an excuse. That's something that we had in the back of my mind. And it's easier to think or kick something in a moment than it is actually thinking it and then writing it down and putting it on paper. And then I always been one of the people, Norm, that, I used to write a lot of letters and whatnot, right? So I would, be tearing it up and rewriting it, and there should be some other words or, something else in it. But yeah, man, I just want to say thank you all the time, man, because y'all always there, beyond the regular. And that's what's going to make us be able to reach some higher heights, is these sessions like this, these little things that move, the bigger things, especially in our minds, because you figure like this, Norm, and I talked to Lou about that too before, that I told him, one time I told him, man, I hope what all we're doing doesn't take no real long time, like 3, 5, 7 years. In other words, I was saying, Norm, I want to be here to see if some of them things is going right. You know what I mean? It's in order. I want to see it come to full tuition. So I think the House of Life thing, man, we didn't put so much work in that's what I really like about the think tank, that everything we do, that's part of it. You know what I mean? And a lot of times you can't say that with things that you do. And I think that's what makes us so authentic in itself. You hear me say something about growing up, I was trying to learn to be righteous. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't sound like a guy that had robbing banks on his mind for his whole life. You dig? And I was thinking about laying that, that pistol down or that Roscoe down, and maybe not being able. My hope is that I never would pick that up again. That was my hope. And when I came back to the Black community, I was that person that I wouldn't do nothing wrong. I would try to help. I was involved. I was learning just from being around the older people, because I liked to be around them, but I wasn't one of those younger guys that got in the way or underfoot. And I knew that these older folks was trying to plant seeds that they hope would blossom later. And I guess that's why I have, such a deep appreciation for those that come before us and the folks in our community. Because if it don't be Norm, if it don't be for, in other words, for the unity to come together in a community, that means that the soil had to be right. You did what I'm saying? Or could it never come to, so years of work went into the unity that existed for, I like to say the perfect unity was like about 3-4 years. But the other unity was started years ago and went back to when you be asking us, or we be telling you, and you always the one to be asking about them stories, Norm. Like when we tell the stories about how many whippings we got when we did something wrong or we disrespected somebody in the community. But they was coming from somewhere else, and that was a part of learning respect. And that came from both sides, not just you would get a whipping from whoever it was you disrespected, and then mom and pop gonna give you a whipping. You dig? But the deepest part of that was that both of the older and the younger had to respect one another. And that was the intricate part of the community. You know what I'm saying? In other words, while we were taught at the crib, we have an obligation to take that out in the street. And I think sometimes that's the part that's missing. In other words, taking what we've been taught from, you know, our ancestors, elders, but our parents, and taking that off the front porch or into the community. In other words, we need to understand that we have an obligation to our community.
Well, maybe Big
Not to tear
Lou,
it down.
maybe you could write those. If you could you let yourself do that? Can you do that thread? Because you gave me an idea, and I wrote a lot about this yesterday, but now you helped me see that a kind of Grandma Jenkins link. And I'm not going to talk about it because then I'll talk the piece out, and I don't want to do that. I want to write it out. I want to like move it in.
Yes.
But I'll just say this. I went the other night to pick up some takeout, and I had this kind of transformation happen inside of me. And I realize now that part of it was Grandma Jenkins, that she was on the street in Harlem, and she came into that moment, like through me, I got to see, so she touched me and helped me transform. So I'm going to work on that like over the next couple of days and maybe send it to you. But I worked on it yesterday. Just the part where I knew something had shifted in me. Because when I was walking up there to get the food, my body was in one place. But when I was walking back, I was a different person. Like I was just breathing differently. So yesterday I took the time, didn't do the work I was supposed to do, and let myself just sit in the work that maybe I was supposed to do. And I knew it was connected to, Grandma Jenkins in a certain way at this moment that I've already put in, but I wouldn't have named her.
Yes.
So anyway, listening to you now, I'm thinking, can you bring her to the porch, and can you just write over the next few days, let yourself just write those moments. Like for me, the moment, I can tell you the moment for me was, you know, I don't know, 100, and I think at that point I was on 109th Street or something, and Columbus, crossing over to Amsterdam. And I saw these two beautiful girls, little girls playing. And the way one was on the street corner around all this energy. And you know, the first hot night in New York City this year. So everybody's out, and the sounds had all kinds of things going on. And tension was one of them. And then there were these girls, and Grandma Jenkins came in. She just put her hand in there, and I knew that you were guiding me into letting these girls into me, if that makes any sense. So I'm just wondering if you can, and I don't mean to be so abstract, it's just that I just had this, is that if you could bring us to some moments in